Okay, welcome to my latest spread for my TV shows of my youth pop-up book. This one really makes me happy, although it sticks outside the edges because I mismeasured on the third time, but I'll put more of that in the blooper reel. I haven't decided if I'm going to cut this off or not. I could, but I might leave it and just make the cover of the book big enough to cover that. So, never a dull moment. Anyway, here we go. This one is for cartoons. And like I said, this is really fun. And I tried some new mechanisms and a variety of things that I've not seen a lot of and not tried myself before. And not a single V-fold in the whole thing. So I will give us a little tour of this. One thing is this main center part that has the Jetsons over here on the right and the Flintstones over here on the left is a raised stable platform. It's similar to what I used in the password game, which was the stable platform from the elements of pop-up, but this is actually off of a tent. So I'm not sure. I mean, it works the same idea, but I'm not sure exactly where I got that, although there's one very similar to this in James Gurney's Dinotopia pop-up book with, I think, Paper Engineering by Roger Smith. So we have the Flintstones over here. They were on from 1960 to 66. These dates are all the originals. There were obviously syndications on a lot of these and remakes and movies and a variety of other things. So that's just what I'm doing here. So we have Fred and Barney in one of their little cars. And this house is the Flintstones house. You can see the mailbox there. And if we open it and look inside, and hopefully the camera will focus, you can see Fred and Wilma and Dino watching TV. I thought that was very appropriate for a book about TV. So that's kind of cute. And we just have some of the scenery from Bedrock. Welcome to Bedrock. And of course, none of these images were together. I had to find all of them and cut and paste and erase backgrounds and resize and, you know, all of the many, many, many things I have to do to manipulate these to get what I want. But it is what I seem to be enjoying these days. So here we have the Loyal Order of the Water Buffalo. Is that focused? Okay, and we can go inside there. This was a big fraternal type organization where the guys went, and here's a little ceremony where Barney and Fred are with their wives. And I think that's where the Grand Poobah comes from. I can't remember. So then here we have the Rubbles house. If we look inside the Rubbles house, we have Barney and Betty and Bam Bam with a prehistoric rock on the wall of the living room. I love the Flintstones. They came up with such clever things. In fact, here's a couple of the gadgets they had. There was the cuckoo clock where the bird or the pterodactyl kind of creature came out and struck a gong. And this was the can opener where there was a little creature that had sharp teeth that would open something. Those made me laugh. Those were very clever and well thought out. And there's another Dino because he was cute and I liked him. Plus, growing up not far from Sinclair, their mascot was the big green dinosaur like that, so that brings back fond memories. So that's the Flintstones. And then the next major one was the Jetsons, which is kind of juxtaposed with the Flintstones of the Stone Age. Some people, I guess, called the Jetsons the Flintstones in the space age. And I guess it kind of was. But so here we have Orbit City with some very futuristic buildings and shopping centers and parking for their little spaceships. Just some of the fancy buildings. Jetsons, we were on from 1962 to 1963. It's kind of amazing it wasn't on longer than that because almost everyone remembers the theme song. And so here the gang is. This is in a cutout as well, but there's no flap because I had to mix it up, you know, from the Flintstones. The Stone Age, we had flaps. I guess in the Space Age, we don't need flaps. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we have the guys, George and Elroy and Rosie the maid and Astro the dog and Judy and I can't remember. I'm spacing out on the women. I should have done some homework, which is ridiculous. Of course, I did homework to find out all about dates and various things with these, but I'm having a senior moment right now, I guess. So this is another cutout. We just have the guys sitting together, probably watching TV, because that seems to be fitting, and the whole gang is there again, except Rosie's sort of off screen. So that was the Jetsons. Pretty cool. I just love the way all of these things that show through the holes are up on parallelograms because they have to move when this closes. I was going to pop dot them just onto the base, but then they wouldn't have been able to close. So you have to think about all of these things. So then another obviously major part of my growing up was the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour. Let's see if I can, having a little trouble getting this right next to where the camera is positioned. Sorry about that. It was on from 1960 to 1978. Again, it has had lots of reincarnations and movies and a variety of things. But I say this masterpiece brought us all the great Looney Tunes characters. And here's a gang shot of them all. We have Tweety and Yosemite Sam and Sylvester and Daffy and Taz and all the gang right there. In fact, even Speedy Gonzales, which was sort of, I think, maybe one of the lesser characters. And so here we have a stage, you can see. And right now, Bugs is on the stage under the spotlights. Let's get on with the show. And we have a little wheel mechanism here. I kind of took this idea from, well, I have lots of pop-up books that have wheels, but in The Elements of Pop-Up by James Diaz and David Carter, there are 4 different wheels. One of them has a moire pattern cut out. So I just basically used that idea and cut out an oval for the stage. And if we twist this, we have Bugs Bunny. And then we have Wile E. Coyote. And of course, Tweety. One of my favorites, Pepe Le Pew. In fact, we named a cat after Pepe when I was a little kid. And Elmer Fudd. Silly Wabbit. Sylvester with his little claw out. Yosemite Sam. Foghorn Leghorn. Beep Beep the Roadrunner. And Daffy Duck. I did a linoleum block printing of Daffy Duck in 7th grade. It was fun to do and pretty easy. And Taz. Crazy little devil. We've got Porky Pig. Howdy, folks. And back to bugs. And so that is a pretty cool little mechanism. So I say here too that some of my fondest childhood memories are visiting Grandma and Grandpa in Cheyenne, and the three of us kids huddling under the pink blanket and drinking our Ovaltine, watching Saturday morning cartoons. That really was fun. Grandma always made us the Ovaltine, and it was a tradition when we would go see them. So on this cartoons page too, we have to have the Huckleberry Hound show, and a lot of people probably don't even remember that. It was on from 1958 to 61, but it's notable in a couple reasons. I mean, for one thing, it was the first animated series to win an Emmy. But other than that, too, it is what introduced us to Yogi Bear and Boo Boo, who made it out of Jellystone, which is near to my heart, too, of course, being from Wyoming, and Yellowstone is there. But along with Huckleberry Hound, who is a hound with a southern drawl and just kind of a funny character, and Yogi and Boo Boo. Apparently there were these characters, Mr. Jinx and Pixie and Dixie. The Pixie and Dixie are the mice, and Mr. Jinx is the cat. And I actually don't remember them. So I don't know if they were on as often or if I just spaced them out somehow. The mysteries of my youth. And then over here, I mean, we have some of the two most favorite Looney Tunes characters. We have Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. You can tell Wile's plotting something. In fact, here he's got his focus. 12 Acme, can't read it through the camera. 12 Acme little giant firecrackers. Because you know he's up to no good. He's plotting something. But this cool mechanism is from the Elements of Pop-Up. It's called a pull tab with a pulley. And I'd never seen one of those before, nor made one. I don't think I made it the way exactly the authors intended. But I made a couple of them and they seem to work. So it is fun. You pull it and it's beep beep. And the Roadrunner runs away from Wile E. Coyote. So that is very, very, very cool. I just love this stuff, as you all know. Okay, and then other great cartoons. Not everyone made this page spread, of course. There will be a couple on the honorable mention page, but some other very major ones, of course, were Tom and Jerry. That I do remember way more than the cat and the mice from Huckleberry Hound. This was on from 1940 to 1968, and it was a winner of 7 Academy Awards, which is amazing for a cartoon back then, but it made its debut in the theaters, not on television. That's why it was able to win film awards. And we all know Tom and Jerry, and they're just wonderful, wonderful antics. So much fun. And we also have Mighty Mouse and his, was that, couldn't you see that? Sorry. So we have Mighty Mouse, and he says, "Here I come to save the day." That was his catchphrase. And he was on from 1955 through 1967, so 12 years. I would imagine a lot of people remember him. Having trouble getting this in focus and some light. And he was Terry Toon's most popular character. So he was a superhero in cartoon fashion. Mighty Mouse. That was great. And we had Underdog, another superhero in the cartoon world. He was on from 1964 through 67. And his catchphrase was, "There's no need to fear, Underdog is here." Used to get a kick out of that show. I loved cartoons. These guys were so great. Oh, and I just have a little picture here of Fred and Wilma in the kitchen baking up some bones to actually cover part of a support structure there. But it goes with the Flintstones. So I think we're down to the Bullwinkle show. And this was on NBC at its start. It was in 1959 to 63. This was the original card from it. Like others, it had many instantiations and movies and spin-offs. And in it, we had, of course, Rocky and Bullwinkle, and Sherman and Mr. Peabody up there always doing some sort of scientific exploits, or at least Mr. Peabody was. So I said this lovable moose and his flying squirrel pal brought us fun escapades with their larger-than-life characters, Boris and Natasha, evildoers, Sherman and Mr. Peabody, Snidely Whiplash, another great villain, and Dudley Do-Right of the Mounties. And who could ever forget the wonderful fractured fairy tales? I love that. When you saw this little fairy, you knew she was coming to start a fractured fairy tale. And so there's Dudley Do-Right with his trusty horse, and another shot of Mr. Peabody and Sherman. We have, sorry that keeps going in and out of focus, Rocky and Bullwinkle. Here are some of those villains. We've got Natasha and Boris. Come on, camera. And Snidely Whiplash, who was usually tying poor maidens onto train tracks. And then these guys in the Roman dress, and I can't remember who they were, and I couldn't find any information about it. So someone will have to comment on this and let me know. So that's my cartoon spread. I think that's everything. Isn't that fun? I really, really, really like this. And we have lots of new mechanisms. So, there you go. Hope you enjoyed.